Yeah. Okay, yes, welcome Jeff and Joey.
Double diamond face.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, turn on the mics.
Oh, power on.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, we'll get right into it. What is the work of a sound designer?
Jeff?
Thanks to the employee who threw that softball question to us. The role of a sound designer is pretty much everything that has to do with audio that isn't music production or composing, or necessarily exclusively voiceover acting, although Joey and I do a lot of voiceover acting ourselves. But usually that involves playing through a game, identifying what parts need sound effects, which parts need VO, which parts need to be spotted for the music, as well as designing it from, broadly one of three sources. Either we record something on our own, we source it from a sound library, or we create it using something like synthesis. And then after we create the asset, it's all about putting it in the game, either handing it off to a programmer and having them implement it and us working with them, or using a program, middleware program like Fmod or WIs to do all the tweaks, the mixing, level adjustments, stuff like that, and then getting that hooked up into the game.
Yeah, and I think that role's changed for us over time too. Like in the beginning, we were doing a lot of mobile games, and that would be just, we would make like a gem collect sound and send it over to the developers, and they would put it in the game for us and then send us a build, and we would play it and be like, can you turn that down a little bit? It's kind of loud. But over the years, we've kind of started doing bigger and bigger games, so our roles now like sound designer, implementation, voice directing, all those things. So it's grown over time.
Yeah, specifically for our company, we try to be like the most full service as we can for an audio company. So what by that I mean, like even though we don't necessarily do like the VO, like we try as much as we can to talk with the unions, help cast, help direct, and then master that VO and then put it in. And then also with music, we collaborate with a lot of composers to make sure that their music is played in the game to like kind of like their specifications, like whether it's like a stealthy scene or like like an action scene or a quiet scene, and making sure those transitions work really well. And yeah, we just try and be as full service as we can to our clients.
And now that the audience knows what you do, or knows what a sound designer is and what Power Up Audio does, would you like to introduce yourselves as well?
Oh, like me as a person?
Yeah.
I'm Jeff. I am the co-founder of Power Up Audio. So I co-founded this company in 2012 with Kevin, who's not here. He's at Gamescom right now.
I'm Joey. I'm the first employee of, we're now 6 total, but I was the first of 4 hired. I love cats, and this is the first time I've spoken publicly since high school. So,
wow. Loves cats, yeah. So what does it look like day to day for you guys?
Get up at 2 p.m., make brunch.
Roll out of bed.
Your wife?
Roll into my desk.
We all work from home. We're all I think the fancy word for work from home is distributed. We're a distributed company. So we all work from home. We have all like our little setups at home. And does that answer part of your question?
I was thinking more like the work that you do.
Oh, like work?
Yeah.
I kind of answered it kind of in like the first question, I feel, is that we either design sounds or we record sounds or we create sounds through synthesis, things like that. We take a look at the game. So we, like Joey said earlier, like when we first started off and we were doing really small, kind of mobile games, we usually get builds of the game, then we'd do video captures. And we'd say, hey, we're doing a video capture, let's capture these animations, let's capture these gameplay sequences, and let's spot out how we want to design or what we want to design. Now, because we've just done so many games now, we're working on, like Joey said, bigger and more involved games. We get on repositories with our clients now, whether that's on like Plastic or GitHub, or I think we're getting on SVN Tortoise right now with one project, Classic Revision History. We get on a repository with them. We set up our middleware, whether that's Fmod, which is preferred for us, or WIs, and we get right into the games and the scenes, and then we do our captures there. And we also use Slack a lot to do all of our communications. People like prefer to talk to us on Discord, but I'm not like 21, so like I don't know what to do when I'm on Discord. It's still wild to me whenever I like turn that app on.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it is just like opening of the engine, playing the game, and finding what we think we need to do. It's not common now that we have the developers say, like, we want this sound made and this done by this date. It's kind of just like, do your thing, because they trust us at this point, a lot of the companies that we work with. So yeah, it's kind of just, you just load it up and just go and just cover what's there and keep up with them as they make the game.
Yeah, the digital audio workstations that we use, are there any sound designers in here? Nice, nice. Okay, dozens of us. Sweet. The digital audio work, the DAWs that we use are. I mean, I use Pro Tools. I went to VFS back in 2008 or something, and that's. Yeah, thank you. Oh, right, nice. I went to VFS in 2008, and then that's kind of how we were trained. But I know that some of the newer school of sound designers use Reaper. Joey uses Reaper, and half of our team does. But Kevin and I still stick to Pro Tools.
Because they're older than me.
Very old.
Oh, look at this photo. There's Kevin and Joey.
That's Joey's apartment. That's part of our distributed team.
Okay, could you explain the difference between sound design and music? Sorry, we're starting really basic here, but I think for the most part, sometimes people don't know much about what sound design is.
Yeah, my parents still don't know the difference. But yeah, music is music. And a lot of the time, we don't do it. I don't make music personally. I thought I wanted to when I was young, but I had one shot doing a couple songs for a game called Digital Boss Monster. And the songs were fine, but like making music under a deadline was like one of the most stressful things I've ever done. It just took all of the creativity out of it and just made it stress, and I hated it. So I stopped doing that. But yeah, music is just like the soundtrack, and a lot of the time we put that into the game and make it play the way it's supposed to play or the way that the composer wants it to play. But then sound design is just all the sound effects, footsteps, screaming, gunshots, explosions, weird warping sounds of cool characters like in Apex and stuff. So, yeah.
Which of those is your favorite to make the sound for?
I gotta think. What's your favorite?
This wasn't in the email, Jared. I didn't prepare for this question. I really like. So we worked on Darkest Dungeon, and I really like doing all like the VO for like the enemies and stuff. So like in that game, 95% of the voices for the enemies is me, and it's all about like recording it and also Joey. Do you want to do a bone crochet sound, an aggro? Like that? Check this out. Ooh. Bone militia. Perfect. I like doing that because I mean I don't have like a great range. My voice doesn't have like a huge range or anything, but it's all about like processing it, getting the performance right, and then taking that into Pro Tools or whatever DAW that we use, and then manipulating it and making it sound completely different. So that's like what I really like to work on, and I think is like very creative. So yeah, when you play Darkest Dungeon, like 90% of it is me and Joey and Steph back there, who was a witch. I can do the witch.
So between sound design and music or music production, which skills overlap and which don't?
Yeah, I think it helps to be a musical person to do sound design. And a lot of that's not necessarily so you can make musical sounds. It's more so like there's a lot of rhythm in animation, and the animators know that really well. And if we can't feel that or hear it, it might not make for the best sound. And a lot of the times too, if the animation doesn't have a certain rhythm to it, it's good if we bring that to the sound. It's hard to explain, but
yeah, I think a good example.
There's beats to it, and
a good example going back into Darkest Dungeon 2 and 1, I guess. But in that game, when a hero attacks an enemy, it's like one frame of animation that like slides in, and then you see the hero attacking the enemy or vice versa, and then it slides back out. And for us, like for when I do the design on the skills for that, if I just, so say it's like, I don't know, like a club hitting a goblin head or whatever. If we designed it right to the animation, just animation perfect, it would be all of these sounds, like the impact of the club, like on the material, which is like a goblin head, having like a squish sound for like the blood, another sound for like kind of like the guts, right? And you'd have all of these layers playing at once. And if you play it back, it sounds horrible, right? But having a sense of musicality, so having like a rhythm, you can create cascading sound effects. So you'd have a slide-in sound effect, you'd have like the whoosh, right? Then you'd have an impact, and then you'd have the material. So anybody who's played like those From Software games like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, when you do like a parry and a riposte, that's like the perfect example of just cascading sound effects. You hear the sound of like the parry, then you hear like there's like a drum hit, I think, and then after that drum hit, you hear the material of the weapon going into the body of the enemy, and then after that, it doesn't look super timed, but after that, you hear an explosion of guts, and then you hear the release. These are cascading sound effects.
In one frame of animation.
Yeah, I drew inspiration because I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. So I drew a lot of inspiration from that game into cascading sound effects for Darkest Dungeon, so it just wouldn't sound like shit, basically.
Yeah, but also too, like, if you're gonna do some tonal sounds, like a doorbell or something like that, and there's a song playing at that part of the game, you probably should tune those sounds to be in key with the music. It's just like a cool little bonus you can do. Like Edgar Wright, the director of like Baby Driver and Shaun of the Dead and whatever else, he has a really, really good grasp of this. There's tons of like rhythmic sound effects that happen in the movie, and it like really punctuates things. So
yeah, the tonality is really important, Joey. That's a very good point, Joey.
Thank you.
The tonality, having things in key. So like knowing what key the song is in that's playing at a specific moment, tuning your sound design to be in the same key, so it's not dissonant, that it actually complements the music. That's like that sort of musicality can be important for our sound design.
Yep.
I think one important distinction though is that we as sound designers, we don't want to help dictate what the music sounds like. So that's like a line in the sand that we have. And then we don't go to, Danny Baranowski and we're just like, too many augmented fifths. Like that's not our job to do that. With Danny, like he's gonna have his own, his own critiques. He's gonna talk to the producer or the creative director of this certain project. They don't need a sound designer going in and making those types of critiques for them. It's kind of our job to work with the composer, because a lot of the time, a composer would just want to make the music and not necessarily want to put it in the game, tune it, program it in, and do states. So that's the job of the sound designer. That's like a specific distinction, is that even though we're not in the creative process in the actual composition of a given track, we would be in the creative process of getting it in the game and having it sound exactly the way that he wants it to sound.
Yeah, and we know how to like loop music correctly and how to transition to different states and what sounds good and what kind of fades work well.
So while it's not like necessary for you to have like a musical background in order to be a sound designer, it certainly does help. And that's also not something that I would say is a prerequisite into becoming a good sound designer or breaking into the field. It's something that you can absolutely learn once you're in the field and working on games. It just comes naturally.
It also helps with UI sound. Like Nintendo does a really good job of every single UI button click is like a little cascading notes going up or down, depending if the windows are opening or closing, and that stuff can be really cool. So, yeah.
Cool, thank you. So how did you each get your start in sound design?
I went to VFS in 2013. It's like a one-year course for sound design for visual media, which you did too, so I'm stealing your thing.
SD31. I think they're up to like SD400
I was
now.
57. And then I didn't even really know that I necessarily wanted to do sound effects for games at that point. It was for film and video games, and as we went through it, I think it was like 20% of the course, maybe 30% of the course was designed around video games, and that part it was like, okay, I'm in love with this, I want to do this. And I graduated, went to full indie with a business card, gave the business card to Jeff and Kevin because someone had told me about them, and that was it. That was history. No, I took a little schmoozing of Jeff and Kevin. I had to make Jeff laugh a bunch before he would consider giving me work.
You schmoozed me so hard. It worked though.
But that was it. I got lucky and just worked really hard at it, and met the right people.
Yeah, Joey was very charming. I actually copied my hair after him. So for me, it's kind of similar, I guess. I was like always really into like sound design and music and stuff growing up, playing like Super Nintendo and whatever. Like I used to like record like F-Zero, like that game. If anybody knows that game, I used to record like F-Zero and SNES with like a tape recorder. And then I'd like listen to it on my Walkman, which is crazy. Or I'd like, in the morning when I was like getting ready to go to school and I was like 7, I'd like turn on the Super Nintendo and just like leave like the Zelda music playing when I was getting ready. So I was like really into that. Obviously like I was like super into to the music side of it, but also the sound design side was also very engaging. And to be honest, like I just feel that in this specific industry, maybe not now, but back then when I was going to VFS, there was, composers were kind of like a dime a dozen, but there weren't that many sound designers. So from a career standpoint, it seemed to be the more intelligent route to take is to take one that wasn't oversaturated with composers already.
Yeah, same for me. I spent a lot of time watching my older brother play Super Nintendo RPGs when I was young. So I would just sit there and listen. And I was always like, I only cared about the music. That's all I cared about. I didn't really care about the games. It was just the music. So now when if I play RPGs and they don't have good music, I don't really enjoy the game. I don't. It's kind of a curse. Because there's probably lots of good games with bad music and bad sound that I just don't want to play.
That's so crazy, because sometimes I play games that I don't listen to anything at all. I just put on a podcast. Which is like, it's actually kind of like cathartic to me. I think we were talking about this, Davey, like the other week, is that like because I'm just immersed in like sound design and music all the time, it's something that I just don't really want to like deal with or think about too much. Like when I play my games in my free time, right, I just want to like turn that part off in my brain and focus on other things about game design that I really enjoy, whether it's like how a game is designed from that level or like how a game even like kind of like looks or the atmosphere. That's the stuff I'm actually more interested in when I'm playing games outside of work.
Yeah, when I first moved to Vancouver in 2010, I was like a poor, struggling, worthless person, and I wrote a bunch of music and guitar and sung and wrote a bunch of songs, and I think it came really fast to me. And now I just don't even care. I'm not going to write music anymore. I have no space for it in my brain, but that's okay.
You are not worthless.
I was worthless.
We gave you a plaque that said you are not worthless, like last week. 10 years. He's been with us for 10 years, so we gave him a plaque made out of wood.
My first plaque.
Yeah. I should have got a photo of the plaque. So how did Power Up Audio start? And we're gonna pull some of the old tweets.
Jesus. None of us are in this shot. What's going on here?
That's our dreams.
This is the collage that probably Kevin posted, I imagine.
Oh man, it's so lame.
PAX East 2016.
I haven't drank a Caesar in a decade. We started, Kevin and I worked at that's how we met, our co-founder Kevin. Kevin and I met at a Yaletown sound company called Somatone back in 2008. And Somatone was, at its base level, kind of similar to Power Up Audio. It was an audio house. So there was a lot of, 2008 was a time when like Facebook games were huge. So like Farmville was big, Cityville
Zynga.
2, like Zynga was like gigantic. And so were like these like hidden object games. And for some reason, you always played just like a really bored housewife in them. And then you'd like, because I think they were catered to women. It was catered to women who are just on Facebook, and then you'd make these hidden objects or whatever. So that's what Somatone did. They found and sought out these types of projects. But it was very unsatisfying for Kevin and I because we never really got to play the game. Instead, what happened was our manager would be like, hey, here's a list of sound effects for you to design. And it'd be like door open, door close, footsteps. And we'd be like, is this a wooden door or like a metal door? What kind of door is it? Like, can we see an animation? And the answer was usually just like, you can't see anything, just do your damn job. It's a door. Cut a door. That's it. It was very unsatisfying. And we were never asked to go to any conventions or exhibitions or anything, so we were completely disconnected. We were hidden from the video game industry working at this place. Sorry to shit talk anybody that loves Somatone here, but what I likened it to was sort of like that movie, The Wizard of Oz, where like, Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Lion Guy, they all go to see The Wizard of Oz, and at the end they see this like great Oz, which is like Somatone, but then like you look at the side, and then it's really just like, this old man just like pulling levers, and that was like Kevin and I, except like Kevin was like on my shoulders and we had like a trench coat, and we were the ones like pulling like the levers for Somatone. So it didn't seem, we weren't very happy because we weren't able to engage in a community, grow a community. We were actually actively barred from talking to people about our process working at this company. So how do you make a successful company is you quit that job, and then you start a company and do everything that is the opposite that you learned and hated, and that's how PowerUp got started. So PowerUp got started by Kevin and I in 2012. I quit first, and I made Kevin quit like a week later. I was like, you don't want this shit, it's horrible. So I made him quit, and then we started PowerUp Audio like 2 or 3 months later. And then after a year of, it was like a year of like cold calls, cold emails. I think we had like 600 to 700, I think both of us had 600, 700 cold calls, cold emails, and like a solid 599 of them were just like, no, don't ever call again. Like, you suck, don't call. And then I think maybe 10 or 12 of them were like, yeah, maybe we'll talk. And I think we maybe got one project out of the 600 or 700 cold calls. But it's just like kind of like it's just attrition, right? You just have to keep on going. And eventually we got enough work to hire somebody, so we hired Joey. Oh, yeah. Nice pics.
2017 tweet here. The greatest picture of the team so far. Is it still the greatest picture of the team? At least this iteration of the team, maybe.
That's the greatest picture of the team on the internet.
Yeah, so Joey, I guess you've already talked about how you joined. What was it like when you first started?
They were able to give me, it was like cleaning voice files for TTS voice for, I don't know if I can even say still at this point. Are we allowed to?
No.
Okay. And all it was like recordings of mostly one woman just speaking these like incoherent lines for hours and hours and hours. And I was just going to open up the files and clean out all her little mouth noises and clicks using a program. And that's all I did for how long?
Like 5 or 6 months?
5 or 6 months.
It was
while I was working part-time.
Machine learning, so we had to make sure the voice files were like super clean. And she was saying like the craziest shit. She was just like, the orange calls you at midnight. What do you answer with? Polly. And like, it was just weird, like just inflections and like sentences, grammar, just so we can get like, these people can get like voice learning going.
Yeah, so I did that for at night after I left after my full-time job. I'd come home and do that, and it was torturous, but I knew they're gonna give me some good work and it'll come soon, and you did. So I'm happy that I went through it, but it was, yeah, that was a hard beginning, but I took anything I could get.
So we're a really small team. We're 6 people total. So it's Kevin, myself, Joey, there's Cole, there's Natasha at the back. What's up, Natasha? She's our newest member. She joined from Australia, moved from Sydney. We kind of made her, and Craig. And how they joined was like, it was very organic. We don't want to be a big team. We don't want to do like 20 projects, 25 projects, 50 projects. We don't want to have like this huge army of sound designers that kind of goes against what our mandate is. So we're only 6 people. We work on around 10 to 15 projects. I wouldn't even say 15, that's like too big. Maybe 10 to 12 projects a year. And that's who we are. So our hiring process is really, really strict. We try not to hire unless we really, really do need it. And the other, how the other ones got, one of my favorite stories is how Craig got hired. Is that there was a time in, I think 2019 or it was 2019 when we put out a call for a new employee, and this guy Craig applied, and we knew who Craig was because in every PAX that we went to, in every GDC that we went to, Craig was there. Craig was always there. He was always saying hi to us. And he was always showing a game. He was always in the industry. You'd see him on like message boards on like Facebook or meetups or things like that. And it was always like Craig was there, but he was never pushy. He was never like, maybe you can give me a job one day or anything. He was just always present. And I think that's like a real testament to himself and this whole hiring process, is that we didn't know anything about Craig's design style. Like, he could have been the worst sound designer we had ever heard. But it was the fact that Craig was just always showing up. He was always being friendly, he was always being nice. He was a huge fan of our project. He knew exactly what we were working on all of the time. And I still stand by this, is that you can teach, a sound designer how to properly cut a door, or, clean voice tracks, right? You can teach a lot of these things, but you can't teach them to give a shit about your company, and you can't teach them to give a shit about being a sound designer and working hard in this industry. So that is what we really hired for, and Craig did that in spades. I really wish he was here. He's in a retreat right now in Utah for Subnautica, but that was like one of my favorite stories for somebody getting hired. And Cole, who's our other sound designer, kind of the same way too, right?
Well, he cosplayed as a Towerfall character. And Kevin saw that on Twitter and said,
"That's true.
I like that guy." And then he started showing up in Kevin's live stream and typing, and then it just worked. Kevin just remembered him, and we gave him a shot, and turned out he was also a good sound designer. So
yeah.
And Natasha is also in the live stream a lot too.
Oh, wow.
That helps.
So you're saying that I shouldn't have acted like I didn't know what the projects were when the video was shown before? What is the coolest project you've worked on, and what did you enjoy about working on it?
You wanna go?
I've got a few answers, but the earliest one where I was like, this is super cool, it was years and years ago. It's called Mushroom 11, and it's like a physics platformer where you push a ball of goo around a world. And it was really cool because at that time I was doing like a lot of mobile games still at that point. Darkest Dungeon hadn't even started yet, right? Maybe around
It was
Star
like,
Trek.
I think we were like in early access at that
And I didn't
at that
get to
time.
work on Towerfall or Necrodancer at that point. I was too late. So Mushroom 11 was my first project that I got to lead. And it was all like, you could drop from far down and hit a teeter-totter that would shoot a boulder a certain length, and it was all physics driven. So I had to do like light, medium, heavy, very heavy sounds for every single thing that you could do. So I got really involved, and it was just super fun, and yeah, I had a ton of fun with it. We got to do Into the Breach, which I led as well, and that was just cool just because it was the people who made FTL, so it was kind of like fanning over it a little bit, but the game ended up being amazing, so that was super fun to work on. Of course, stealing Jeff's Cadence of Hyrule.
Damn.
We did that together. I'll let you talk about it more. Yeah, and then the one I'm on now, which is ending soon, is called Wayfinder, and it's an MMO. It's like the closest thing to AAA that I think our company's ever done. And it's a massive project. It's like beautiful art, so I'm really proud of what I've done on that.
Yeah, we did a game called Battle Chasers Night War. It's like a turn-based RPG. It was created by Joe Madureira, who like since I was a kid, I love this guy. He's an artist. He worked on like Spider-Man. He worked on X-Men. There's like this story where like he quit high school or something. Like he dropped out of high school because Marvel wanted him to work on Spider-Man. So he was like, yeah, I'm not gonna finish high school. And he just became so popular in like the mid to late 90s. He also did Darksiders as well. I think that was like his franchise, and he worked at Vigil. And then when he created his own company, Airship Syndicate, I met him just down in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest, touring with Darkest Dungeon because we got nominated for an award show there. And the art director, Chris Barassa, and Joe have like this, kind of like this bromance that's going on like Twitter and stuff. So we met up with him and started doing work for him, and that was like kind of like a dream come true to work with somebody that like I had admired and like collected all of his work in. It's pretty wild. Cadence of Hyrule, which is our Crypt of the Necrodancer and Legend of Zelda mashup game. I thought that was like super cool to do that game. I'm a huge Zelda fan. Link's Awakening is like maybe one of my favorite games of all time. And in addition to being able to do a Zelda game, they have so many iconic sounds in that game, and having to have our interpretation of it or my interpretation of it with Joey, that was really fun to do. We also got a chance to like go to Japan and like meet like the Zelda team. So we met like Eiji Onuma, and we met Koji Kondo, like the composer for like the Zelda games. The guy who wrote like the Mario theme song, and he was like, great sounds. Like that's all he said to me. I bowed like so low, I like, hit my knees.
They were impressed that we had variations for falling through a pit, right?
Yeah. They had like a translator and stuff, and they were just like, Kono-san's super impressed. I'm like, yes. But it was just cool being in that ecosystem and seeing like how Nintendo worked, what their feedback was, and then just working on such a huge franchise. And also like, I know Danny's not here, but Danny Baranowski did the soundtrack, and just hearing his takes on Zelda songs was just amazing. To hear that like years before release and just like keeping that secret and working with it, doing design around it was like, yeah, it's like a real feather in our caps.
Yeah. Yeah, what did they say? They said we weren't allowed to use any sounds that were made in any other Zelda game, but we were free to reproduce them.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I want the heart pickup sound from Link to the Past and the rupee sound. So I just had to like figure out what they were and remake them. And I think I got really close to it, and it was so like satisfying. Like, oh, that sounds like the rupee.
So in Link to the Past, there's a part where if you go to the Dark World, like the entire screen phases, I guess, and then you hear like, you hear like that kind of sound. Some of you probably know, like Joey worked for like 2 full days on that one sound effect, but it was like perfect. It was time well spent.
And then we needed a voice for Zelda.
Oh yeah.
And somehow got my wife to do it. So that's just the voice of Zelda back there. And it's just so strange that she got to do it. They're like, yeah, well, they just thought it was good.
I know. Joey's bragging that his wife was Zelda. My wife was a Deku scrub.
And a commander.
Oh wait, we're kind of talking about this already, but yeah.
Yeah, we kind of,
Yeah,
all
we
that
kinda
stuff
covered
about taking existing sounds from an IP and paying homage to it we did that a lot in Cadence. With Ruined King, which is a League of Legends RPG, I kind of actively didn't listen to League sounds. A lot of it was, all the animations were much different. League's just like these tiny little people running around the battlefield, but in this game there's like big full-on like cutscene ultimates happen, so Riot didn't really care if we did it perfectly. Even some of the voice actors for some of the existing characters were different in that game, so we kind of had free reign to do it, so I just wanted to make a good sounding game in that place. So.
Yeah, we got brought into the Subnautica series like after the first one, so we didn't do Subnautica 1. That was the sound design and the composition for that game was made by one other person, and then they left, and we were brought in for like the it's like a full game expansion, I guess, Below Zero. So we also didn't want to like stomp on a lot of what was already established in the game, even though this person who did the sound design was primarily a composer, and like Subnautica was just like indie as hell, right? So it was just people wearing many hats. So this guy was not a sound designer at all. But a lot of people really did, attach themselves to the sound design. They thought it was, awesome. And we didn't really want to like mess with that, even though we were like, none of this really syncs to the animation. Or like, why would a sound make that? Like, why would the frequencies make that sound underwater? Stupid. But we didn't want to like mess with it too much. So we tried to understand like why people love these sounds so much and what drew them to it. And what we found is that a lot of the sounds in Subnautica were based out of 2 emotions, and one of it was being in an unknown space, right? So there's anxiety, and then there's fear, right? And a lot of the sound design, whether it's a voice saying oxygen or like the beeping of your still suit when it's like running out of oxygen or things like that, we wanted to have more of that. We wanted to build upon that and not mess around too much with the game. Also, if you know anything about like the Subnautica fan base, like if you change one thing, you just get like downvoted on Reddit into hell, right? People are like, who are these guys that are doing the sound design for this game? So we didn't really want to like mess with that too much. We wanted to respect it and we wanted to expand upon it. So Cole and I had this idea for Subnautica Below Zero. So Subnautica Below Zero has like 9 different biomes. There's like shallow seas, there's like, like the deep dark, there's like a cave system. What we did was that and this took no extra heavy lifting from the art department at all, is that we created what we called hidden creatures in the game where there was no visual asset for these hidden creatures. We didn't even tell the art team. We were just like, we're just gonna do this on our own. We just assigned 1 creature per biome, and we were like, okay, so in this biome, there's like a bunch of like seaweed popping out in the shallow seas. What kind of like crazy hidden creature like would be in here? So we're like, oh, maybe like a giant eel. So we just prototyped and designed sounds of like a giant eel being like aggroed or slithering around and stuff, and then we put it into Fmod, and then we did like triggering probabilities on it so it didn't trigger all the time, and then we put a lot of verb on it so it sounded like it was super far away, and then we just told a programmer, we were like, hook this Fmod like event into this biome, and then Fmod will do the rest, right? So we did that for every single biome. We thought about a different enemy that the art team had no idea of. We designed it. We stuck them in different biomes. We just told the programmer to like literally one line of code. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, programmers, sorry. But it is one line of code, isn't it? So told them to just hook this up to this given biome. FMOD did all the heavy lifting. And that was, I feel, kind of like our way of respecting the IP by digging into the emotional, like the emotional behavior of the audience and like why they like the series. And that was our way of doing it.
What is the source of a sound that people wouldn't expect that you made?
Oh, that's hard. Oh, I don't know.
I already talked about Darkest Dungeon and my voice, right? Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting, and we can talk about this. So we recorded a bunch of bikes for Descenders. So Descenders is like this roguelike mountain biking game made by Rage Squid, these people from the Netherlands. There's a new game, Descenders Next, comes out next year. And thinking about it from like a technical point of view, it's really difficult to record anything vehicular. So think about like a car. Think about like Forza Motorsport, where you have to like not only record like the wheels, but you have to record like the surface that's on the wheels. You have to record externally like what the car sounds like from the outside. You have to record internally what the car sounds like from the inside. Like I can imagine like that Pixar movie Cars would hate to work on that movie. For bikes, it's very difficult because you can't just like have a microphone and have a bike, ride by you, right? You have to go with the bicycle because if you just do that, you're just getting bike by. It's just gonna get whatever, right? So you're just gonna get, not a consistent sound. So when you're playing the game, you need to have a consistent loop of the bike. So we didn't know how to do that. So we were like on top of a mountain. We like carried like a bunch of recording equipment up, and then we were just like recording bike lands and recording bike buys. We were like, a lot of it is usable, but we're not getting the correct sound, which is a consistent loop. Because if we're running beside the bikes, not only would we look foolish, but also we'd be getting our own footsteps. Like say it's like the crinkle of the leaves or wind material. There's so many variables that can make like a bad recording.
Or the sound of the spokes.
Sound of the spokes.
Clicking, where that doesn't go away until you pedal. When you idle on a bike, you get the. We don't want that all the time during the game.
Right. Even having a human being on the bike and doing the active pedaling, you're going to hear that pedaling. You're going to hear weight distribution. So Kevin had this crazy idea where I'm going to oversimplify this, but he basically, and we had to go to like a welding company to get this made. We got a bike, we got like a bicycle wheel, and then like a metal stick and welded it on.
A little handle.
With a little handle. I like to think that Kevin made like a little belt out of it. Yeah. But a little handle, and he would just spin around like this in one spot, and he would record it, and it solved our issue. So that way we weren't chasing a bike and getting all these different materials. Instead, we were just like kind of like spinning around.
And we needed like dirt, grass, snow. Mm-hmm. At one point it was like 1 a.m. and Kevin called Cole. He's like, Cole, get over here, because he lived close to him. But he's like, it's snowing. We got to go out now. So they just went out at 1 a.m. and just like into a field and just Kevin spinning in a circle.
Yeah,
in the dark.
Can you imagine like coming home from the bar in like a taxi or like an Uber and then like looking out and some guy's like with another dude like that? Pretty funny. But that was like kind of an example. I don't think it's like the weirdest thing or anything that we've ever done, but I think it's like a really cool example. Other things too is like finding just inspiration in just like really strange places. Like we did a game called Hot Lava. We didn't do the entire game. It's a clay game. It's sort of like the floor is lava, so you're kind of parkouring through like a stage or whatever. I don't know too much about the game, but a lot of it was just Foley work. It was like, okay, so you're just like, you're I don't know, jumping over like a fridge or like a vending machine or whatever. And I literally found all of these sources just by being in my kitchen. So I would just like open my fridge door and then shut it, or I'd like take some bottles out and then shut it, make a completely different sound, got like the dishwasher. Yeah, shake the fridge, do it like, and I was just like pivoting, kind of like Kevin with the wheel, but I was just doing that in my kitchen and just recording different things. I got so many interesting sounds just by being in like my little, kitchen, my one bedroom.
I'm thinking Phantom Brigade. It's like this mech turn-based game that Brace Yourself did, and there's like one screen where you can. It's not in the game anymore, but you could go into it to edit your mech and see it in a really cool stage, and it was like a nice transition in the UI that Ben really worked on. I don't know where Ben is. But I bought this like electromagnetic microphone. It's just this tiny little thing that can just pick up weird frequencies on different things. And I have a Dyson vacuum. And I tried it, and it was like, pew! Like this really crazy sound.
Oh, yeah.
Dyson. And I took that and made it part of the transition. So things like that do happen, but usually it's like a gunshot's a gunshot, or a explosion's an explosion, or a...
Yeah, so we pull out our AK-47s and hit the range. Yeah.
Okay, how do you make sure each of the games sound unique, especially since you work on so many of them? And there's Wayfinder.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a contractual thing. We have in our contracts that we don't reuse any sounds.
Yes.
So even though it's like footsteps that are in like dirt in 3 or 4 games, we always try and re-record everything and have everything custom. So that's like one thing that we really try and do, is that we don't try and have like canned sound effects. So even though like, obviously there's things like, even though we record things like with the bikes, and then we can create things with synthesis, but there's, oftentimes like if we're doing a game and there's like a lion in it, we're not gonna be like, okay, like let's go to the safari and like check out a bunch of lions and like record them. So obviously we have to buy, like a lion library of somebody who has gone to the Serengeti or whatever and recorded a bunch of lions. But we're also just very cognizant about not just reusing that single layer of a sound for anything, and making sure that we add different layers which change the shape of the sound as well.
Yeah, like I don't know how many blob enemies I've done sound for.
Oh man.
Probably 10 different games where there's blob enemies. Always you too, you're always doing blobs.
Pedro's blobbing so much in the art department.
I don't know, you just remember the ones you've done and just trying to switch it up. But I think mainly though, it's like the sound is informed by the art style and the music as well sometimes. So I just want Wayfinder to sound like that looks, and the Necrodancer to sound like that looks. I think that's one of the big goals. So as long as the art styles are unique, then I think the sound will follow with it.
Working on a team helps a lot too, because we're our own like worst or best critics, I guess. If you're not proud to show it to your team, right, because they're going to critique the hell out of it, then you probably need to work on it a little more. So just having that kind of transparent process and being like, how does this sound? And we also know that like these sound libraries that you can get, people can and do like reuse them across like tons of games, single layer, no modification, and we hear it all the time. Like I hear like, there's this movie called The Babadook that came out a couple of years ago. Great movie. I really like that movie. I'm a big horror person. And when you finally hear what the Babadook sounds like at the end, it's a World of Warcraft enemy,
it's
isn't
the
it?
dragon from Warcraft 2.
From Warcraft 2.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like
The red dragons from Warcraft 2.
It was literally the
exact sound
same
effect.
sample, right? And we made fun of it to oblivion. So there's no way that we're going to do it in our own games, right?
Yeah, and there's this classics, like there's a certain gate opening squeak sound that you probably have all heard like 600 times in different movies, and like I would just never do that.
Yeah, so
Unless that's supposed to be a joke.
A lot of our experience too is like just watching a ton of movies, playing a ton of games, and identifying these sorts of sounds. We're like, having just not trying to do that, right, and trying to be different. So being very critical of your work does help with that.
Are there any specific qualities that you look for in a game or a team that you work with?
Okay, so this is a cool question. We have a process in our company. It's very democratic. And the process is that if a prospective new game comes across our desks, so to speak, and Kevin and I have to figure out if we want to do this game or not, we let everybody know. And we go, if somebody says, no, we're not doing this game, kind of like for any reason, whether it's not very interesting to them, or there's like a budgetary concern, or there's like a time concern, we just don't do the game. So every game that we do has to get a thumbs up from every one of us. And that way, when we do start working on the game, everybody is pumped in some modicum to work on the game. And that way it keeps us kind of like, it keeps us together, and it creates like a sense of solidarity. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like the initial meetings, like for Tunic, for instance, like we met Andrew at GDC, and he had this amazing demo of a game, and he was a super nice guy, and you're like, this game looks great, and you look like a cool person, so let's work together. Like that's usually where it starts. But there's been times where, what are the games we've turned down that would be surprising?
League of Legends?
League of Legends wanted us to work on skins. It would have just been doing skins for unlimited amount of years, and I was like, I don't think that's a good thing to take on because it's going to burn us out.
That was a hard one to turn down because they were like, it was at a point where they had like unlimited money, it seemed, and then whenever we do like negotiations, always like the price we'll do it for per hour or whatever, and like, but this is the price we'll say, and then like this is kind of like the price that we'll like not do it for sure, and then we like went super high, and then they didn't say anything, right? So that kind of meant that we lost the negotiation process because like they probably had an even higher number in mind, and then we just said whatever we thought was high, and then they were like good. But we ultimately turned it down because yeah, we didn't want to like go into work. We learned from all of like the TTS voiceover stuff. Like we didn't want our employees or ourselves to go into work and be like, damn, we have to do these like, you know, these skins. Like nothing against League of Legends as a game at all, but the work involved in it, they were also very specific. Like their spec sheet was like, it was like very rigid as to like what we could design and what we couldn't design.
And they wanted us to scale up our company just for this project. So it was just like, this is too big and it's going to burn us out. So we had to say no to it. And there's a couple other like big names, like very big names in the industry that they wanted us to work with, and we kind of just didn't like the way they were, or didn't like what they wanted out of us, or that it didn't seem like a personable connection between, because we really like being close with our teams. And
yeah, find us at the bar to hear what those names are. So we're going to send it over to them.
Okay, we're running out of time, but let's see how many. I think this is the second last one. How can developers and sound designers better work together?
Be like Kier and Chris.
Be like Kier and Chris. Yeah, they're the Kier is back there. He looks exactly like this picture. If you turn around, you can spot him immediately. But asking for just being involved, like being involved in. I mean, when you're on Slack, I bet people who are on Slack or Discord or whatever, they probably have different channels in their Slack groups, which is like, you know, chat programming or chat art or chat whatever, right? We always are encouraging our clients that we would be involved in all of them. And by involved, I mean invite us onto the channels. And then if we don't want to, you know, deal with it, we can leave the channels ourselves. But being invited into the meetings and into the channels, being a fly on the wall during the process, even though we're not necessarily saying anything, and our camera's off and we're probably petting our dog, at least we can take that information and we can go to our team. I can go to Joey, I can go to Kevin, or the rest of our team, and then we can talk about, hey, like this is what they're thinking about doing for the art. These are like the mood boards that they're creating right now, or like this is what the gameplay is going to be like. And getting involved early in that capacity will not necessarily invite like a conversation between me and this artist who we haven't even done concept art for something yet, but it will invite a conversation between our team, and then we're better prepared to join a conversation with our clients when the time does come. Also, having a relationship with the programmers is really good. Asking them for things that'll expedite our process, whether it's like, you know, like them creating a scene in Unity or whatever that allows us to spawn any enemy or any song or any item or things like that. Having a good relationship with the programmers so we can get kind of like the tools and the debugs that we need to expedite our process is also really important.
Yeah, asking for tools and any debug stuff to help, like you were showing, is really awesome. Like that stuff's super, super, super helpful. And I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for that kind of stuff. Can you make me a tool that's going to make my life easier? As a sound designer is kind of like a scary thing, but they love doing it usually, and it helps us like tenfold get our job done quicker. And just as developers, just take an interest in sound, and it'll make your game better, I promise.
Oh man, there's two more questions. Okay, well, we'll just do this one and we gotta go. What should a team do if they can't afford an external sound designer?
Like they don't have a budget? Well, to the sound designers out there, don't work for free. That is a race to the bottom. And what I mean by that is if you're going to work for free, then other people that are sound designers trying to find jobs, they're going to be like, well, like my, you know, whatever dollars an hour, who's going to hire me when this person's working for free? I guess this is just how the industry goes, and I'll work for free too, and we'll get a couple of projects under our belt, and then I can start charging. And what happens in that scenario is that you work for free, and you're like, well, I didn't make any money today, and I don't want to eat this Ritz cracker tonight, so I have to find another job that actually does pay. So now your time is divided between the project that you want to work on but it's for free, and this new project that maybe pays you a little more, and now you're not working full-time, another one, you're working part-time. People do this ad infinitum. all the time, right? You need to understand what your worth is, and everybody is worth getting paid for what they want to do. In order to make that happen with a company that doesn't have any money, they might not have any money at the moment, right? They're saying, hey, we don't have a lot of money. We're all kind of like doing this kind of like pro bono until the game goes out, and then we'll collect sales and we'll see what happens. Get in on that end, right? You can say, hey, I'll work for you for, name your price, like see what you're worth, right? Whether it's like an hourly thing and you want to record hours, if you want to do it for a flat rate, if you want to do it for a royalty percentage, if you want to do it for a bonus tier percentage, every X number of titles sold or money made, net from the storefront take or whatever, then maybe the sound designer will get a kickback. Know what you're worth, build it into a contract, send it to them and say, I know you don't have money now, but I want to work on your game. And I will do your game. And then after the game is released, then I can start to collect the money that I was owed for doing this game. There's always a way to get paid, and like I guarantee, because I've been through this before, like I've done work for free, and it was my worst work, right? But it was also because I wasn't focused on it. I was like busy just trying to get as many contracts as I can and make a name for myself, and that was just like not really the right way to go about doing things.
Yeah, and I think if a company is claiming they can't afford you, then they're probably not the right fit.
Also that.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you all for coming. We will see you hopefully next time or in the future. And thank you to Jeff and Joey.